A young man, in order to pay off his debt, was lured to work on a distant planet. As a result, he was put into a human printer by his boss, thus beginning an endless cycle of rebirth and death. A life where he worked like a cosmic ox with no end in sight. He had to work 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. If he died from exhaustion, a new body would be printed out. The young man not only had to help humanity test vaccines and check radiation, but also negotiate with giant alien insects. Who said that technology could change lives? Will anyone come to rescue the young man? The story takes place in a distant future when human technology has advanced tremendously and Earth has become depleted of resources. The Martial Parliament decided to initiate the plan to colonize the planet Niflheim. Our main character Mickey is an unlucky guy. He listened to the sweet talk of his friends and opened a cafe, which resulted in losses and left him in debt. The two of them could hardly survive on Earth anymore. They joined the space colonization plan. His close friend Timo, who has excellent spaceship piloting skills, was able to qualify as an astronaut. So Mickey didn't have any skills, so he could only choose the position of a substitute. No one applied for this position. As the name suggests, a substitute is like a type of high durability consumable material. After confirming Mickey wasn't unstable, the staff took him for a scan. The machine would store all of Mickey's memories and even his personality onto a hard drive which needed updating weekly. After that, Mickey was sent to carry out dangerous tasks such as being exposed to the planet's toxic atmosphere, inhaling viruses to test reactions, assisting scientists in vaccine research, or placing his head in radioactive areas to see how long it takes for human skin to get damaged and how long it takes for eyes to go blind. He had dissected a frog in the lab quite carelessly. Perhaps there truly is a law of cause and effect in this world, so now he has also become the frog in the lab. Every time Mickey died during a mission, the relevant department would print out a new body, then implant the previously stored memories and personality into Mickey's brain. This technology has sparked a lot of ethical debates and religious opposition. Therefore, it is currently only allowed to be used for substitutes. In summary, since taking this job, Mickey has begun a continuous cycle of dying and coming back to life. The work is endless like a cosmic ox. Even in such harsh conditions, he still found a sweet joy in dating his colleague Sasha. Thanks to this happy relationship, Mickey was able to persevere for 4 years. Over the years, he and Sasha have relied on each other and can be called soulmates. Mickey has gone through this cycle of dying and coming back to life 16 times. Currently, he is on his 17th body. That day, Mickey 17 was sent to an icy planet to carry out a mission. He and a few teammates crawled into a dark cave to survey. They unexpectedly discovered an alien species. They were shaped like insects, crawling all over the ground. Everyone felt they shouldn't stay here long and prepared to quickly withdraw from the cave. As a result, an insect suddenly appeared on the ice above. Jennifer, who was not one to panic, immediately grabbed a machine gun and fired at the ceiling. Unexpectedly, the ice broke and crushed Jennifer to death. When Marshall found out about this, he was extremely angry and took out all his anger on Mickey. Marshall believed that employees like Jennifer were very valuable, and once they died, they could not be reborn. It was the replacements like Mickey who needed to go ahead to scout the way for everyone. Unluckily for Mickey, not only was his food ration cut in half, but his working hours also increased to 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. Every day, he immersed himself in the snow to catch insects. The jerk Timo took the opportunity to mock him while delivering supplies. Perhaps fate still didn't think Mickey had suffered enough. That day, he hurriedly opened the supply package, and before he could put the rice in his mouth, he fell into a blood pit. Timo hurried down to assess the situation. He was astonished that Mickey was still alive when a giant alien insect rushed towards Mickey with its mouth wide open. Perhaps everyone thought death wasn't frightening for Mickey, but the truth was quite the opposite. Every time he faced death, it terrified Mickey. Therefore, when he opened his eyes and realized the worm hadn't eaten him, for the first time he felt lucky. However, the next second, the large worm dragged Mickey back to its lair. Countless others crawled over and jumped onto him. Mickey desperately thought, could it be that it wants to raise me for its young to eat? What a great mother. Quickly put an end to me. But the worms didn't eat Mickey. Instead, they collectively carried him out of the lair. Mickey looked up and saw a vast expanse of white all around. Perhaps fate hasn't completely abandoned him. He quickly discovered a sampling vehicle. Mickey chased after it, climbed the vehicle frame, and finally returned to the base. He dragged himself back to the dormitory to sleep. Who would have thought there was someone else in the bed? It turned out that the headquarters thought Mickey 17 had died, so they printed Mickey 18. According to the regulations on clones, when duplicates appear and cannot be reconciled, both must be destroyed. Mickey 18, wanting to preserve his life, hurriedly grabbed the weight nearby, preparing to kill Mickey 17 to cover up the evidence. At this point in the story, we also need to review the legal regulations related to cloning. Behind the human printing technology, there is an indispensable key figure, Alan Manikova. This Manikova was originally a mentally ill patient with a criminal record. He exploited the human printing technology to create an identical clone of himself and used it to establish an alibi for a series of brutal murders. Fortunately, the police quickly obtained information about him and arrested both Manikovas at the same time. But afterwards, there were still a series of issues to resolve. Were the two Manikovas accomplices, or was one living off another? Were these crimes committed alone, or were they all perpetrated by the same person? In prison, do they eat half a meal each, or does each person have a full meal? Legal experts and philosophers are at a loss. Just as Manikova 1 and Manikova 2 were detained in the interrogation room, another homeless person was brutally murdered, and the perpetrator was Manikova 3. This incident immediately caused panic. The technology of human printing was also questioned. The headquarters convened countless meetings on this issue. Finally, Marshall decided that human printing is a crime and cloning is the work of Satan. But we must think about how to use this technology reasonably to benefit humanity. Marshall proposed conducting a feasibility test of human printing in a place far from Earth. Under the strictest supervision, each planet, each expedition is only allowed to have one clone, which is the previously mentioned replacement. If multiple clones appear during that process, Marshall promised to execute and permanently erase all individuals. Then, the story returns to the present. 18-year-old Mickey has knocked out 17-year-old Mickey and is preparing to put him into the recycling machine for disposal. At the critical moment, 17-year-old Mickey suggests, "How about we share the work and take turns resting so both of us have it easier?" 18-year-old Mickey finds this a bit confusing. "You've died so many times already. Why are you still afraid of dying?" In fact, the miraculous survival experience in the icy region back then gave 17-year-old Mickey a different understanding of death. Even though his body was created from waste and memories were transferred into his brain through a brick, each Mickey is unique. On what basis does he live just to die? Unfortunately, 18-year-old Mickey was not convinced by these words. He forcefully pushed 17-year-old Mickey into the recycling machine. At the critical moment, Timo unexpectedly pushed a cart in. Both of them hurriedly hid in a dark corner. This Timo is not honest either. He has already run off to space to join the migration plan, yet he still gets on the oxyphone table without diluting it. 18-year-old Mickey was displeased by this scene and asked 17-year-old Mickey why he didn't kill that bastard. Previously, when Timo tricked Mickey into a business partnership, he had placed most of the debt on Mickey's shoulders. 17-year-old Mickey was startled upon hearing that, wondering why he had such a frightening thought. Timo is our only friend after all. 18-year-old Mickey ignored, ran out, and pushed Timo into the recycling machine. This shows the difference in personality between the two Mickeys. When 18-year-old Mickey was printed, an employee dropped a few conduits, skewing his personality. Then, Timo tried calling for Mickey's help, but 18-year-old Mickey was not patient anymore. 18. He grabbed a fire stick to hit Timo when an employee unexpectedly appeared. 17-year-old Mickey quickly looked for a place to hide. 18-year-old Mickey lied, saying that Timo had carelessly fallen and he was trying to find a way to save him. Then he bent down to warn Timo to be careful with his words, not to say things he shouldn't. After issuing the threat, 18-year-old Mickey finally pulled Timo up. Timo might be the type who can handle both soft and hard approaches, yet he truly didn't expose the fact that he was pushed down. After that, 18-year-old Mickey left with Natasha, his hand even groping around her backside. 17-year-old Mickey hid in the shadows, glaring after them, thinking that was his girlfriend. He stealthily crawled after the two back to the dormitory. Who would have thought he'd be stopped right at the door? It seemed like Marshall was organizing a promotional event to select a model employee for a dinner with his family. 17-year-old Mickey was chosen by the management for a restaurant. Employees usually eat compressed food daily, and most of it is strictly controlled. 17-year-old Mickey finally had the chance to eat a full meal. He ate voraciously. Coincidentally, Kai, Jennifer's close friend, was also invited to the meal. The Marshall couple noticed Kai's perfect genes and considered Kai to be an ideal model for the new generation of the colony. For the natural reproduction plan in Niflheim, she is absolutely the perfect candidate. Hearing this, Kai was not pleased. "In your eyes, am I just a womb?" Mr. Marshall hurriedly explained, "We do not discriminate based on gender. It's just that Marshall has a singular dream of owning a planet filled only with purebred people, a place that uses real agricultural products and hosts lively feasts. Everyone can enjoy dinner together with exquisite sauces. The sauce is truly the highlight of civilization. Those who eat raw meat are the real savages." Mickey, hearing this, looked at his plate of raw meat, which was completely different from the fancy meals on Kai's plate. The Marshall couple regarded Mickey as inferior. They pretended to pray for Jennifer. Suddenly, before the words were finished, Woody whoa! 17-year-old Mickey fell to the ground convulsing. Marshall had fed him artificial meat that was not yet fully developed. The growth stimulants inside caused 17-year-old Mickey to break out in red rashes. It turned out that this meal was just an excuse. Marshall was merely using 17-year-old Mickey to test the artificial meat. Seeing the other in agony, he hurriedly called the research staff to bring out the special pain relief medication they were developing. After all, since Mickey was already screaming, they might as well take this opportunity to test the medication too. Who would have thought that after taking the medication, Mickey felt worse, thrashing like a fish. Seeing this, Marshall drew his gun, preparing to release Mickey. Marshall's father shouted, pointing, "You can't put a hole in my carpet." Bev and Kai nearby couldn't take it. They couldn't treat Mickey like that. But Marshall showed no remorse at all, even saying that Mickey was just a printed product. The substitute contract was also something you voluntarily signed. As soon as Marshall finished speaking, he was about to fire, but 17-year-old Mickey grabbed the barrel of the gun. He didn't want to give up his life because of a little pain. Hearing this, Kai hurriedly helped 17-year-old Mickey back to the dormitory, assisted him in cleaning and changing clothes, and prepared herbal tea to soothe his stomach pain. It should be noted that in the current situation of extreme resource scarcity, tea is indeed a luxury. The reason Kai treated 17-year-old Mickey so well was because she wanted to know what the feeling of death was like, what her own Jennifer experienced when she was crushed under the ice. 17-year-old Mickey honestly said that no matter how many times he experienced death, each time he felt fear and pain. Kai realized for the first time that 17-year-old Mickey was not just a printed product, he was also a real flesh and blood human being. Seeing the atmosphere between the two becoming more ambiguous, 17-year-old Mickey hurriedly bid farewell to Kai because he loved Natasha and could not betray his soulmate. 17-year-old Mickey ran straight back to the dormitory and found Natasha with 18-year-old Mickey. When they faced each other, the two Mickeys were not only unafraid but also very excited. She found it fascinating that there were two identical people in the world. 17-year-old Mickey astutely noticed that Natasha's condition was not right, turned around, and indeed found undiluted oxyzophone on the table. Natasha, in a state of excessive mental division, pushed both Mickeys. But before any further action could be taken, Kai had caught up. Witnessing this scene, she said nothing and turned around to leave. Natasha immediately chased after Kai, calling her back and explaining that Mickey didn't do it on purpose. It was an incident caused by the headquarters. She hoped Kai wouldn't reveal this matter. Unexpectedly, the other party made an absurd request. Kai asked Natasha to give up 17-year-old Mickey. She even said, "After all, you have two Mickeys. Why not share a little?" Hearing this, Natasha was angry. If Mickey or Mickey, they are both her boyfriend Mickey. This isn't a cookie to share. 18-year-old Mickey heard and questioned 17-year-old Mickey. "Can't you take revenge on Marshall?" Not only did 17-year-old Mickey not take revenge, but he also wanted to thank them for inviting him to dinner. 18-year-old Mickey just felt the blood rush to his head as if it was about to explode on the spot. He couldn't endure this unfair treatment any longer, grabbing his gear intending to go kill Marshall. 17-year-old Mickey saw this and hurriedly chased after him to stop him. At this moment, Marshall was giving a speech. He had brought back a jet black rock from the icy planet, preparing to carve his name into it. This rock would become a commemorative symbol of Niflheim. At this moment, 18-year-old Mickey pushed through the crowd, slowly revealing the gun hidden in his sleeve. An unexpected incident occurred. A terrifying insect suddenly emerged from the rock. The entire scene immediately descended into chaos. It was just a young insect, yet the scene felt as if Godzilla was invading. 18-year-old Mickey, holding the weapon, was also subdued by security. Staff in protective gear chased after the small insect that frightened everyone. Finally, 17-year-old Mickey rushed in to help them catch the terrifying insect, while 18-year-old Mickey took the opportunity to escape. He picked up the weapon again and aimed it at Marshall. At the critical moment, Natasha rushed in and pushed 18-year-old Mickey away. The bullet shot into the sky, hitting a rock. Marshall was extremely surprised to see two Mickeys, but his first reaction was still to grab the microphone and continue speaking incessantly. No one expected another terrifying insect to crawl out from the hole in the rock. Kai immediately led the security team to open fire and eliminate it. Marshall quickly disinfected himself, fearing he might have contracted some virus. After calming down, he ordered the arrest of both Mickeys, and Natasha was thrown into jail for not reporting. During the time the three were detained, Mickey 17 mentioned that the insect species was actually not scary. Previously, he was even saved by these small creatures, otherwise he wouldn't have been able to escape from the icy region and return. Natasha was extremely delighted to hear this. "We should report to the scientists," saying that the terrifying insects saved humanity. Before the words were finished, Timo crawled in, accompanied by a subordinate. It turned out that not long before he had received a threatening letter from Black Six. The other party demanded that Timo dismember Mickey into many pieces, then record the entire process and send it back to Earth. If Timo didn't comply, Black Six would send someone to kill him. Therefore, Timo hoped that Mickey 17 could understand. If he died, everything would end, but you could print out a new person at any time. Timo pretended to be pitiful and then ordered his subordinate to capture Mickey 17. Mickey 18 immediately exclaimed, telling Timo, "I almost pushed you into the recycling machine before. Why not spare that fool Mickey 17 and deal directly with me instead? That way you can both complete your mission and vent your anger." But Mickey 18 had one request. He wanted a diluted dose of oxyphol as a final high before dying. Timo instructed his underling to give Mickey 18 a dose. Unexpectedly, Mickey 18 suddenly grabbed the underling's arm. Taking advantage of the opportunity, NASA seized the opponent's taser, shot Timo down, stripped him to get the key to open the door, delivered a punch to Timo's head, and then picked up a chainsaw to help Mickey vent his anger. Mickey 17 hurriedly spoke up to stop him, while Mickey 18 stood on the side cheering. Fortunately, the staff appeared at the critical moment. NASA put down the chainsaw and told the opponent about the terrifying insect. Mickey 17 watched NASA's back with deep emotion, as NASA was the only one who treated him so sincerely. For the past 4 years, she has always been like someone who has never violated any printed body. On the contrary, every time he died, NASA felt immense sorrow. At this moment, Mickey 17 noticed that a lot of terrifying insects were gathering outside the base. Perhaps it was because the larva captured by headquarters kept crying for help, leading to a large-scale mobilization of the terrifying insects. The manager worriedly said, "But these insects can pierce through both metal and stone. If they attack the outer wall together, the consequences would be unimaginable." The staff had to record the larva's cries to see if they could analyze any patterns. Unexpectedly, Mrs. Marshall suddenly requested to handle the larva herself. She was seen pulling out the tail of the terrifying insect and then cutting it off with a scalpel. According to Mrs. Marshall, she wanted to use the terrifying insect to research a new type of sauce. This character's enthusiasm for making sauce is actually director Bong Joon-ho's tribute to Lucy Miranda's love for food in the film The Old Snail, reflecting the emptiness of the upper class. Mrs. Marshall has unreasonable and inconsistent goals, completely unsuitable for her position. Only then can she feel the value of her own existence. She's just full and bored. Let's get back to the main story. Marshall sees that the two Mickeys are still not dead, so she orders them to be thrown into the recycling destruction machine, erasing all memories from the storage hard drive. Then she launches a war against the terrifying insects. NASA stands by and hurriedly intervenes as fighting consumes a lot of energy and calories. For those who have just set foot on a strange planet that has been invaded, sustaining life or development is already difficult, let alone launching a war. Moreover, the terrifying insects have been hovering for several hours, doing nothing but waiting. It seems they have no intention of waging war against humans. Additionally, the terrifying insects had previously saved Mickey. She believes there must be another way to resolve this. Who would have thought? Marshall burst out laughing after hearing this. He said Mickey is just recyclable waste. If it breaks, discard it and print another. Surely the terrifying insects also recognize unusable waste. Salkatu. A girl with glasses told Marshall the terrifying insects indeed have cognitive abilities, able and even show high intelligence. As long as we can analyze their language model, we can communicate with the terrifying insects and avoid war. Marshall showed disdain, saying, "I couldn't care less." The larva next to him seemed to understand this and directly spat in his face. Marshall immediately got angry and cursed at these extraterrestrial insects. Unexpectedly, to the terrifying insects, humans are the strange extraterrestrial invaders encroaching on their homeland. Before Marshall came up with this nonsense theory about extraterrestrial migration, whether it's the terrifying insects or Mickey, they are all just living their own lives. Marshall has no right to decide the life or death of anyone, let alone arbitrarily take away Mickey's existence. NASA saw this clearly from the beginning to the end, but Marshall, embarrassed and angry, decided to launch a comprehensive extermination campaign. Mrs. Marshall even gave him a terrible idea. The couple decided to have the two Mickeys wear antimatter bombs and shine together with the terrifying insects on the ice mountain. Moreover, the control buttons for the two bombs were in Marshall's hands, forcing Mickey to try to leave the remote control range. The bombs would also automatically detonate. In short, the two of them had no chance of escaping death, Mrs. Marshall added. At the start, the two would receive a simple weapon, and they must do their best to cut off as many terrifying insect tails as possible to help gather ingredients for making sauce. Whoever cuts off 100 tails first, we might let him live again. The two unlucky individuals were arranged so clearly, the girl with glasses chased them to the base gate, offering a choice of a translation device. Although it hasn't been tested, it might be effective. Mickey 17 took the translation device to find the mother insect to communicate. Unexpectedly, this method was effective. Mickey 17 told the mother insect to quickly lead her offspring away, otherwise the bomb strapped to his back would kill them all. Why kill Loco? Loco was the larva that was shot dead. The mother insect didn't understand why, after saving humanity, her offspring were being slaughtered. Mickey 18 suddenly interjected, asking what the name of the captured larva was. Hearing this, the mother insect thought that her child named Choco had also died. It immediately stood upright, leading all the terrifying insects towards the sky with its mouth open. A strange sound wave emitted, then echoed, causing the two Mickeys to painfully cover their ears. The voice of the mother insect was still like thunder. Everyone's brains would explode. Mickey, 17, upon hearing this, hurried to the base's surveillance camera, mimicking the action of cradling a baby, signaling them to return the larva to its owner. Marshall completely ignored it and, dissatisfied, said, "What right does a failure like Mickey have to lead humanity in dialogue with an alien race?" He ordered his subordinates to prepare the camera. He was preparing to go out to talk with the mother insect and record this historic moment. Mickey, 17, reluctantly could only tell the mother insect, "The larva Choco is not dead yet. Please stop immediately." The mother insect said, "Humans must pay the price. We lose one child, you must lose one person too." Before Mickey could respond, Marshall and the film crew had already rushed out aggressively. At the same time, NASA took the opportunity to launch a sneak attack on Mrs. Marshall. She used her leg to hold the opponent's neck, threatening the person in charge to release the larva. Mrs. Marshall, to preserve her life, agreed quickly. Once free, she stabbed at the person in charge. In pain, he let go, and the larva almost fell into the recycling machine. Fortunately, NASA reacted quickly, preventing a major disaster. The person in charge criticized the Marshall couple, saying they exceeded their limits. All video evidence will be submitted to the committee for review, and the two of you can wait to go to court. NASA took the larva and ran to find Mickey. At this moment, the terrifying swarm of insects sensed the threat from Marshall and lined up behind the mother insect. Mickey, 18, blended in with the swarm, saying goodbye to Mickey, 17, who seemed ready to sacrifice. As soon as the words were spoken, both were surrounded by the swarm of insects. Seeing that negotiations had failed, Marshall ordered his subordinates to open fire on the mother insect. Unexpectedly, Mickey, 18, suddenly rushed forward with a knife. While Mickey, 18, and Marshall were desperately struggling, Mickey, 17, finally met NASA. The two hurriedly handed the larvae over to the mother insect. At the same time, Marshall was being beaten down by Mickey, 18. Mickey, 18, grabbed the bomb controller on his arm. Mickey, 18, looked up at Mickey, 17, one last time and detonated the bomb on himself. An eye for an eye, a life for a life. This game of chance finally came to an end. 6 months later, as spring arrived at the base, NASA participated in the parliamentary elections and led a protest demanding the government abolish the replacement human plan. It was Mickey himself who personally destroyed the human printer. Not long after, the girl with glasses developed a more accurate translation machine, helping humans and the fearsome insects reach a cooperation agreement and attempt cultivation on this land. The story ends here. The above is the entire content of the newly released film, Mickey, 17. Do you think this movie is good? If you think it's good, comment 1, 1, 1. If you think it's just okay, comment 2, 2, 2. Thank you for your attention and following. Goodbye, and see you again.